Company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview.
Joining us today is David Price, the CEO of RockFire. Hi, David. Welcome back onto Stockbox. How are you?
G'day, Mark. I'm well. Yourself?
Yes, very good. Thank you, David. Thank you very much for your time. So, RockFire recently released a drilling update for Copperhead. Can you give a brief overview of this news and the significance of visible copper mineralization throughout the entire length of the hole?
Sure, Mark. To be able to drill a 500-metre hole and hit visible copper veins for the whole hole is pretty extraordinary, to be honest with you. There's not many projects around that on the first attempt they actually hit so much copper. Of course, it was drilled in 1972, and the 300-metre hole that was drilled in 1972 also hit visible copper veins over 300 metres. So we've been able to extend that to 500 metres depth now, and that's an extraordinary success for us. So look, we're very happy that we were able to confirm, or if you like, verify the original drilling, and that's part of our technical due diligence. When we go into a new project, one of the things we need to do is to verify original drilling or historical drilling. And then, of course, as we drill more holes, the objective is to take that historical drilling, incorporate it into our drilling, and end up with a JORC compliant resource. So we're well on the way. We've done our first drill hole with the results now back, and it's a great success. The grade is not lighting the world on fire. 0.14%, if you were to say the whole deposit is 0.14%, it would probably not be economic, to be honest with you. However, what you're trading off with the grade is the volume. And the volume and the tonnage, particularly, over such an extraordinary length, is really impressive. So you do get a bit of a trade-off with grade and tonnage. And if you have a look at other porphyry coppers around the world, they're sometimes billions of tonnes at a low grade. So look, it's premature to be saying that 0.14 is the average grade. I think that would be misleading, in fact. We do get very high grades. We get 2.28% copper and a wide variety of grades throughout that 500-metre hole. So the main thing is that it verified the original drilling. It hit copper all the way through in veins, and I think that's a great start. So for me, it's very exciting, and for RockFire, I think it bodes really well for the development of the project going forward. So we're very happy with that hole. And what's 500 metres? It's about 0.3 of a mile that we've drilled, and we've hit copper veins the whole way. So look, that's a great outcome for us. We're very happy with that.
Okay, excellent. Now, you mentioned large-scale porphyry copper. Can you explain what porphyry system is and how they differ from other styles of copper deposits?
Sure, there are other styles of copper mineralisation. You, of course, get volcanogenic massive sulfide, VMS deposits, which often contain copper as well. They form on the seabed as volcanic activity. So you get the volcanic activity, which is, of course, extruded from the Earth's surface. You get sediment-hosted copper and, of course, porphyry coppers, which are intrusion-related. So these deposits often don't reach the surface when they're formed, but they do outcrop now because of erosion. So what we find is that we've got the porphyry at depth. In fact, what we're seeing is basically a barren rock at surface that's covering the porphyry. We're drilling through this barren rock, and the barren rock is full of these copper veins. So we're sitting above it. So what you can picture is a barren rock with multitudes of veins, all containing copper. And of course, this is rising from underneath, coming off the porphyry itself. So we know it's down there somewhere. Something's feeding all these thousands and literally thousands of veins containing copper. So we haven't hit that source yet. We're still drilling through this top layer, which has got all these veins through it. So that's really exciting for us. It's got to be down there somewhere. It's feeding all these incredible veins of copper.
Okay. Now, these results are from just one drill hole, with results from a further 4 holes expected from the lab any day. Are you expecting more of the same?
Well, not really. It's very different aims for each hole. So some of the holes, like the first hole, was a verification hole. The second hole, we actually drilled in the opposite direction to the south, and it was a deliberate ploy. Two reasons. One is that it gives us an idea and confirmation that we're drilling in the right direction to intersect these veins. And the second thing is to try and look further to the south where we have absolutely no information. The third hole was drilled to the west of the third hole was actually drilled to the north in the same direction as hole 1. And the fourth hole was drilled to the west of a fault to test the fault. So each hole has got different aims, and that's very important when you're first learning about a deposit. You've got to actually start to drill some holes to learn about it and find out what the geology is telling us. Where should we be looking for the higher grades? So all holes won't be the same because they have different aims. They're bound to have different outcomes. I'd be very surprised if they all did have the same outcome because they all have very different aims.
Okay, but the plan for the holes is to help you then to enable the further stage planning of exploration. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I also noted from the RNS, David, that weather permitting, the rig is now moving onto Plateau to test an anomaly depth to 1,000 meters. Could you give a status update on Plateau?
Sure. It's pouring with rain here in Queensland at the moment. It has been for a week, and they're expecting rain again next week. So the wet season may actually have already hit. We were very fortunate to get the rig out of Copperhead prior to the wet hitting. And that was one of our very clear objectives, to make sure we didn't get the rig stuck in there once the wet season hit. So it was a very strategic timing, and we were very fortunate because the wet appears to have hit now. We've had already a week and a week ahead of us. So at Copperhead, it's actually very rugged. It's very rugged terrain, and you certainly don't want to get a rig stuck in there because you do pay for it for 2 or 3 months as the wet season progresses. Just standing there with no production. So that's somewhere that RockFire didn't want to be. So at the moment, the rig has been taken out of Copperhead, and the plan is to move it to Plateau. And that will happen once we're able to get in there after this rain period. And the objective there is to drill to depth there to try and get a gravity anomaly that has been detected from a gravity survey that we did back in May of this year. So it highlighted an anomaly at depth there, and it's something we're keen to actually have a look at and see if we can find something beneath all the gold that we've got there at Plateau. It's 200,000 ounces of reasonably low-grade gold, 0.6 grams per tonne gold, and again, it's being fed from somewhere. We haven't found that source, and a hole like that will help us to try and track this down. So we're pretty serious about tracking down the sources of these deposits. We've actually got a very broad halo of gold at Plateau. We've also got a very broad halo of copper at Copperhead. So we're in the right spot. We know we're in the right spots. We just have to find those sweet spots.
Okay. Well, David Price, the CEO of RockFire Resources, thank you very much for your time.
A pleasure. Great to talk with you again. Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.